Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're plunging into a question that seems kind of simple, right?
Right.
But as our sources show, it actually unlocks some really profound insights. We're talking human desire, the cultural landscape. Our mission really is to figure out what these hypothetical choices tell us about, well, ourselves and the world. So let's just start there. If you had a superpower, what would it be?
It's funny how fast that question gets your brain working. And it's not just some random thought right now. Our deep dive, looking at all this material, it shows this is super relevant, especially in the US.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, just think about the sheer wave of superhero stuff lately. New Marvel series, reboots of older heroes.
Yeah, and the darker stuff too, like The Boys.
Right, The Boys, and then X-Men 97 is back, Deadpool and Wolverine is coming up. They're all over Disney, plus Amazon Prime, you name it.
And Comic-Con's just around the corner. So yeah, people are thinking about this stuff. Power, protection, maybe even challenging the system.
Exactly. And what's really interesting, and the sources back this up, is that it's not just for kids. Ask any adult this question, and they get into it.
They really do. It's kind of a safe way to explore what actually matters to you. Like, do you want freedom? Or maybe more control? Or connection? Or, I don't know, fixing things?
That really is the core of it, isn't it? We found the power people pick often lines up with these like deep psychological needs.
Yeah.
You know, some want flight, maybe they feel stuck, need autonomy. Others pick invisibility. Our research kind of links that to wanting privacy or maybe being able to observe without, being judged.
And then you get the ones who want to heal people or fix the planet.
Yeah, like environmental powers, which points to this really strong desire for maybe benevolence or just feeling like you can do something to help.
So today in this deep dive, we're going to explore what powers people tend to pick, what those choices really say about their, underlying drives.
And hopefully how understanding all this can give you some valuable insights into yourself, maybe into others too. All right, let's jump right into it then. If you could have any superpower, what's your go-to? For me, it's always time control, specifically like freezing time.
Ooh, freezing time. Okay, that's a big one. What's the thinking there? What drives that for you?
Well, I mean, just imagine the productivity. You can get all your work done, read those books piling up, maybe even sneak in a nap.
While the world's paused.
Exactly, and nobody knows. It's about getting that extra hour, before a big meeting or a test, or even just having a moment to think.
That makes sense.
And beyond just like getting stuff done, it's the idea of hitting pause if something difficult is happening. Or, I don't know, even dangerous. Giving yourself a beat to figure things out. Maybe you help someone without the clock ticking.
That's really fascinating. Like a desire for mastery, maybe? Control over things. Our research often puts that kind of choice in a competence-driven box, wanting to nail the outcome, get task limitations.
Yeah, maybe. What about you? What's your pick?
For me, teleportation. Definitely teleportation. Instant travel. Anywhere. Italy, Japan, New York. Boom, you're there. No airports, no queues, no sitting on a plane for hours. It's just pure freedom.
Teleportation. That's very practical, and it definitely screams freedom, that desire for autonomy. But I gotta ask, isn't there a risk? Like, what if you teleport into a wall?
Yeah, okay. Valid point. Very valid. I'd absolutely need some kind of like super GPS system built in, spatial awareness upgrade.
Right, to avoid messy accidents.
Exactly. But just imagine it. Weekends in Paris, maybe lunch in Thailand, and you're still back home, tucked in bed by 10 p.m. It gets right at that human thing of wanting to beat distance, beat limits, just experience more.
What's really revealing here, and the sources we looked at really hammered this home, is how our choices, like yours and mine, they kind of map onto these bigger human drives, like my time control thing. Maybe it points to that feeling lots of people have of being overwhelmed, always feeling like you're behind schedule, that sort of longing for order, efficiency.
Right, getting things under control. And my teleportation choice, that speaks more to that deep, deep desire for, total freedom, getting past physical hurdles, experiencing life without all the, the friction of getting places.
Yeah, the friction is a good way to put it.
And our deep dive shows that. Choices like teleportation, they often fit into what researchers call an autonomy-seeking category. Wanting to move freely, make your own choices without barriers.
Whereas time control,
that often links up with competence-seeking, needing to master your environment, wanting to perform at your best. It's about controlling the variables, really, to get the result you want.
And isn't it interesting, too, how picking these powers, it kind of highlights the potential downside, the burden. Like with time control, it could get pretty lonely, right, if you're the only one moving.
That's a really good point. Yeah, a bit isolating.
Makes you think about the weight of it all.
It really does. And the sources touch on this too, this idea that with great power, whether it's, literal superpowers or just influence in the real world,
Comes great responsibility.
Exactly, the classic Spider-Man quote. It resonates because it's true, even hypothetically. There's an ethical side. The burden of being a hero isn't just like fighting bad guys. It's the mental weight of knowing you could do something and what happens if you do or don't.
So if we kind of pull back and look at the bigger picture, the power we choose, it often reflects not just what we want, but maybe what we feel we're lacking, or just what we value most.
Yeah, absolutely.
Flight might be about transcendence. Invisibility could be privacy or maybe observation. Super strength, protection, impact.
Our research suggests people lean towards powers that either fix their biggest real-world frustrations or amplify their best qualities, their core values.
Which explains why this isn't just a fun party question, right?
Yeah.
It actually gets used in things like job interviews, team building.
Exactly, because it's a pretty low-pressure way to get a peek at someone's core drivers. Are they mostly about security, influence, connection, or that big one, personal freedom?
The simplicity works. It lets people express those underlying needs without feeling too exposed.
Yeah.
And so for you listening right now, this means the superpower question. It's actually a fantastic conversation starter. It's a really rich way to connect with people, talk about wishes, hopes, maybe even practice expressing those things in English.
Totally. And you can easily explore those useful phrases like, if I had, I would, I could, maybe, or even, I probably wouldn't use it for. Things you use in everyday chat.
So yeah, we've seen how this seemingly simple question, what superpower would you want? You can actually unlock some pretty deep stuff, what people truly value, what drives them.
It's a surprisingly powerful lens, really, for looking at those basic human desires for control, freedom, connection, making a difference.
Yeah, it helps us understand ourselves a bit better, maybe understand others too. It tells a story that's, deeper than just a fun hypothetical.
Definitely.
So now it's over to you. If you could have any superpower flying, invisibility, super strength, something else entirely, what would you pick? And maybe more importantly, why?
Yeah, take a second to think about it. What does that choice really reveal about you, about your own deepest desires or maybe frustrations? And maybe here's one last thought to chew on. How much can just the power of our imagination, even when we're dreaming up impossible things like superpowers, actually tell us about our very real desires and maybe the real world challenges we're trying to overcome? Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we unpack fascinating sources to find those nuggets of insight. Today, we're diving into a sparely crafted educational segment. Our mission for this deep dive is really to understand the precise elements this segment uses, vocabulary, grammar, practice to make complex English accessible and actionable for learners. We want to figure out what makes this teaching approach just so effective. Okay, let's unpack this.
That's right. We'll be looking at how this material breaks down the nuances of talking about imaginary situations in English. It manages to turn what could be a pretty dense grammar lesson into, something quite engaging. An exploration, really.
Yeah, it really seems like a masterclass in instructional design. So before getting into the sort of how-to, the segment starts with vocabulary, right? What are some of those key terms they use to set the scene?
Right. And what's brilliant, I think, is how it immediately pulls the learner into that world's imagination. The words chosen aren't just definitions dropped on a page. They feel like doorways. We're talking about things like teleport, time control, and freeze time, superpower.
Okay, yeah, the fun stuff.
Exactly. But also, surprisingly, the very relatable snooze button.
Oh, that's clever. It's fascinating how they ground these big concepts with really clear meanings and examples, like you said, mixing the fantastic and the familiar. So teleport defined as to move instantly, like magic. And the example, if I could teleport, I would visit my grandma every weekend. That's nice. And freeze time, I wish I could freeze time during my vacation. Who doesn't wish that? But then throwing in the snooze button, it connects that imaginary grammar to something totally mundane. Does that contrast do something specific for the learning?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this isn't just vocabulary acquisition. It's really smart psychology. It's associative learning, schema activation. By anchoring this abstract grammar point, the second conditional, in these vivid, high-interest ideas like superpowers, they make the information really sticky.
Yeah, makes sense. Much better than just memorizing rules.
Way better. It creates this rich mental picture the learner can easily grab onto and build from. And the snooze button example, that just shows the versatility, how you can use this structure for everyday wishes too. They even bring in that famous quote, with great power comes great responsibility.
The Spider-Man quote.
Right, which instantly links the whole superpower idea to, a real-world moral concept. Sort of primes the learner for applying this grammar in more nuanced ways later on.
That's a really great point. It's almost like creating a need for the grammar first. If you're excited about the idea of teleporting, you're probably more open to learning how to talk about it properly in English, right?
Exactly. You sparked the interest.
So once that imagination is fired up, the segment smoothly shifts gears to the core mechanics, the grammar. And this is where I think you see the elegance in how they simplify it. They really focus on those if I had, I would sentences. The second, conditional. How do they actually break that structure down?
Well, the genius here is really in the clarity, the explicit instruction. They don't just, hope you pick it up from examples. They spell it out. If plus past simple, would plus base verb.
Right. Clear formula.
Super clear. And this rule then example method is just solid instructional design. It lets learners build a mental model before they practice so they don't get lost. They need those straightforward examples. If I had a superpower, I would fly. Or if he could stop time, he would sleep for 10 hours.
Love that one. Very practical superpower use. And it's efficient, too. Explain, then immediately show. I noticed they also give extra practice sentences for the learner to repeat out loud. Stuff like, if I had wings, I would fly across the world. Or, if I could read minds, I would understand people better. And if I had teleportation powers, I'd never be late again. Which is, let's be honest, a big motivator.
Exactly. That methodical approach rule, examples, then this guided practice, it's all about building confidence step by step. It really shows how isolating one specific pattern helps learners focus and internalize it without getting, overwhelmed.
Yeah, avoids that cognitive overload you can get with complex grammar.
Precisely. It really cements that foundational understanding.
Okay, so the segment doesn't just stop at explaining the rules, it gets the learner actively doing something. It uses the shadowing practice with key phrases, which is, I think, a brilliant technique for fluency, not just accuracy. What are some of those phrases they use? The ones that help with rhythm and tone.
Shadowing is so powerful. It's not just what you say, but how you say it, right? It builds that muscle memory for the language. So the segment encourages repeating things like, if I could teleport, I would be in Japan right now. Or, I think time control would be my power. And even that nice conversational bit, that's a great choice, but kind of dangerous.
Yeah, that adds a nice touch of realism.
It really does. It pushes learners to mimic the pace, the intonation, the music of the language, really. And they even throw in a direct question for the learner. What would you choose if you had a superpower?
Makes you stop and think, doesn't it?
And then a thoughtful little comment. Superpowers aren't just for kids. They reflect our dreams.
That's quite profound, actually. Okay, if I had a superpower, maybe instant tidying, does that count?
Totally practical. See? It works.
Definitely not as cool as flying, though. But then, and this is really crucial, the segment tackles common mistakes head on. This feels incredibly useful, like anticipating where learners might stumble. What are the main pitfalls it flags?
Yes, this part is vital. It's like targeted feedback before you even make the error. Error prevention, almost. It zooms in on 3 really common ones. First, using the present tense with if. They explicitly say, don't say, if I have a superpower, I will fly.
The classic conditional mix-up.
Exactly. They correct it firmly to, if I had a superpower, I would fly. Reinforces that imaginary context. Second mistake, saying will instead of would in the result clause. So, correcting, if I could freeze time, I will take a nap.
Which sounds tempting.
Right. But grammatically, it needs to be, I would take a nap. Emphasizing the hypothetical. And the third one is mixing up can and could, correcting if I can teleport.
Yeah.
If I could teleport.
It's funny. If I can almost feels more natural sometimes, even though it's wrong for this hypothetical meaning. Shows how ingrained basic patterns are. But calling these out directly right next to the correction and reminding learners that for imaginary stuff, it's could, had, would, that must really help lock it in, right?
Absolutely. It's that power of contrastive analysis again. Seeing the wrong way next to the right way helps your brain draw a really clear line. It's much more effective usually than just stating the positive rule on its own. Prevents those errors from becoming fossilized.
Okay, so after covering vocabulary, grammar, practice, and those common errors, how does the segment wrap things up? How does it pull it all together?
It does a really neat, concise review, just quickly summarizing the key points. Vocabulary like teleport, freeze time, superpower. The core grammar, that second conditional structure. If I had, I would. Plus, the conversational phrases they practiced, and importantly, how to dodge those common mistakes.
So a quick recap to consolidate.
Exactly. But it doesn't just end there. It pushes for active recall and personalization, making it stick.
Right, because just hearing isn't the same as doing. How does it encourage that?
With some final, really good, thought-provoking questions, it prompts the learner to actually answer out loud.
Ah, okay. What sort of questions?
Things like, what superpower would you like to have and why? Makes you justify your choice. And then, getting a bit deeper, would you use it to help people or to help yourself?
Ooh, ethical considerations.
And finally, how would your life change if you had it? This final speaking bit is so important. It encourages you to actively use everything you've just learned in a context that's personally meaningful.
Yeah, it moves it from passive knowledge to active skill. Connects it emotionally, too.
Exactly. Cements the learning.
So our deep dive today has really shown how a meticulously planned educational segment can take something complex like the second conditional and make it feel, well, not just understandable, but genuinely engaging. It's not just about grammar charts. It's about using relatable themes, super clear instructions, getting people talking, and heading off mistakes before they happen.
Indeed. What's really fascinating is seeing that careful layering. Vocabulary first, then the clear grammar rule, immediate practice, fluency work like shadowing, and then the error correction. It's all designed to build that fluency and confidence bit by bit. It really highlights the power of, targeted practical teaching that thinks about the learner's journey.
Absolutely. So thinking about this, what does it mean for you listening? Maybe consider how much of what you're trying to learn, whether it's a new skill at work, a complex hobby, maybe even another language feature, could be made easier. Could you break it down with this kind of clarity? Find ways for immediate application. Focus on those common sticking points. What superpower could you unlock in your own learning by applying some of these, really smart pedagogical principles?